Winning in Monopoly, in the toy business, is no trivial pursuit, but it's often worth the risk. You know, Marivelle, I have to say sorry, because I'm getting a little parcheesi with this introduction into your weekly feature, Made in Canada.
Is there any game you did not name in that intro?
Snakes and ladders. I could go on. But there's a new game on the market that's really a success story here at home.
Absolutely, Heather, and it is this morning, anyway, all about the fun and games, the kind of fooling around that's behind this new Made in Canada board game. It's called Things, Humor in a Box, and I got a chance to catch up with the creators just before the holidays.
Things a chicken thinks about when the farmer picks up the eggs.
Playing games is old hat for Tom Quinn. He's done it all his life.
I come from a huge game-playing family. Both sides, my mother's side and father's side, they just played everything. They played poker, they played Scrabble, they played charades, every game you can imagine. And it came down to a point where it was very competitive, and everybody wanted to play their game when we got together. But my brother and I always tried to turn all these games into something funny.
That effort is paying off. Tom, his brother Ted, and their friend Mark Sherry realized the game they'd been playing for years was gaining popularity among their family and friends.
The three of us got together, and we came up with 7,000 topics. And at that point, we didn't have a name for the game, but we realized about 75% of them started with the word things. So that's why we decided to call it Things. But we narrowed it down from those 7,000 to 300 to put in the box. And what we thought we would do is, is that if the topic itself wasn't funny, it would at least inspire comedy, right? And that's what we think we have sort of put into a box. We've put comedy into a box.
Can I just get your phone number again?
And people are buying boxes and boxes of things. With very little advertising and a whole lot of moxie, Tom and his partners have grabbed a lot of attention and distinction. Things was voted one of the top 10 toys of 2006 by the Canadian Toy Testing Council, the only made-in-Canada toy to make it on the list, and it was chosen tops by 1,000 children.
We were shocked sort of that we won this award too, because we never planned the game for children to begin with. We came out of adult parties, but like I say, as soon as it got into a box, then kids seemed to be paying attention to it, and it started to sell immediately in the kids' toy stores, Scholar's Choice, Mastermind. These are all sort of kids' stores, and it started to sell really well there. Hey, Kevin. Here you go.
Fabulous.
Yep.
About 35,000 things have been sold in 3 years. At that pace, it has Tom and his partners hoping to follow in the footsteps of that other homegrown board game, Trivial Pursuit.
Our game is totally different from Trivial Pursuit, and it's actually sort of even more accessible than Trivial Pursuit, because if you can read and write, you can play our game. You don't need you need no special skills, and actually the game turns everybody into a comedian. So you don't even have to be funny. The game will turn you into a comedian.
Things you wish worked by remote control.
So, for someone who's been thinking up things for most of his adult life, what's his all-time favorite thing?
Things that would make church more exciting. And somehow we get some pretty interesting responses.
But there is really just one thing that Tom Quinn would call success.
The definition of success in regard to the game would be that we see it in every store. Every store that sells games, we'd like to see our game there. Success in general is kind of hard to define. Again, I never thought that I would make a living off of this. So if it makes money and it makes people laugh, that's good enough for me.
I love a man with a slow hand.
That looks like an awful lot of fun. Now, we talked about the business success of this. How do you play the game?
I know. I sort of failed to explain that in the piece, but it's so easy. Like, you get these strips of paper, everyone who plays gets one, and somebody will ask. So this, for example, things you shouldn't put on your front lawn.
AstroTurf.
Ooh.
I don't know. Go ahead.
So you would write that down, and
Okay.
everybody would fold up their pieces of paper, put them in here, and one player pulls it out, reads out one of the answers, and the next person has to try and guess who wrote those answers. So you can get pretty cagey on these things and kind of try and deke people out with your answers.
That's how you win.
Yes.
Okay, but the questions are the fun part of the whole
Exactly,
thing.
and you kind of forget. We played, and we forgot to keep score after a couple of these questions. So, yeah, AstroTurf. I really
Well,
like
I don't know. You know, some people like fake grass. There are some really funny ones in that box, though. We've been going off camera. We've been talking about them, aren't there?
Yes, and Tom Quinn actually told me this one. There was an answer he got from his 6-year-old nephew, I think it was. The question was, or the things was, things you shouldn't do naked.
Our jobs.
Yes, most definitely, especially with HDTV coming up. And you could kind of go a little bit wild with some of your answers, and so he's afraid of the answer he was going to get from his 6-year-old nephew. The answer was fry bacon.
So you can have a lot of fun. Great conversation starters and a wonderful Made in Canada success. Maribel, thanks.
You're welcome.
If you have an idea for Maribel's weekly feature, a business that you know in your part of the country that is a sweet success story, let us know. Our address is CBC News Morning at cbc.ca.